Russia. What do we know about it? It's beautiful, massive, wild, diverse. But what about people? Did Russian forget about the great Russian soul? I'm Russian, and I've been living in Russia for almost 30 years. And as a Russian girl, I've noticed a tremendous change in Russians' perspective, the way the majority of people think. We used to be raised with the popular stereotype that Western people, they are cold, rude, with no empathy for others, but they have a higher standard of living. Despite this, there was no anger and envy towards Western people among Russians. As a child, I kinda accepted this fact that Western people, they are wealthier and have a higher standard of living, but we are Russian. We are kinder, we have empathy for each other, we are open and ready to help to anyone who is in trouble. At least this is what I thought. But recently I've noticed a massive change. Now I've been living abroad for the last 2 years, and I can tell you there is a huge misunderstanding between Russian who left country recently and those who are staying inside Russia. As a Siberian girl, I lived in a place far away in Russia, literally from the middle of nowhere. And the way people lived there was normal for me. But when I found myself in Europe 2 years ago for the very first time, I was blown away by the way people lived, by their standards, by their diversity, by their cultural differences, and the way they lived, basically. I was so excited to share all these differences with my Russian friends, with my family. But what I've got kinda shocked me. The majority of my friends just abandoned me, and I had arguments with almost every family member in my family. Although I didn't want them to feel pity about the way they lived in Russia, I just wanted to share the way I felt, the way people live in Europe, the way Russian can also live in the future. But the only thing they showed me was hate. Then I decided to share my experience with the other Russians via YouTube. I created a video similar to this one, I uploaded on this channel in Russian only, and I shared it with the Russian audience. I will put the link of this video in the description below, you can check this out, but briefly I was sharing my experience of how it is to be back to Russia after a year of me living in Europe. And what I've got kinda shocked me as well. On the English channel I've got around 7 comments with nice discussions about the experience I had in Russia, but in my Russian channel, under the same video with the same experiences, I've got more than 270 comments, and mostly it was hate, it was anger, it was envy. People wrote things like, we need to bomb out there everything and then we will see. Better to off and never come back to Russia. This is a bullshit, we've been in Europe. Roads are not that good everywhere and there is a mess around. So, by the way, why do you come back? Russia doesn't need you. Off. And these just a few comments I've got. For the video, I shared my personal experience, my perspective of the way how I compare the life in Russia and the life in Europe. I love Russia. I love being Russian girl. I wanted to share my excitement of how life can be beautiful and diverse, and you can travel, you can see new places, you can meet incredible people, you can learn languages. There are so many things, and I just wanted to share these. But for some reason, the majority of Russians, they just took my message and they converted my message in the way like I wanted to offend them. But it wasn't my goal. My goal was just to share how life is different. The question is, where is the greatest Russian soul? Where are the people who could be just happy for you? Where are kindness? Where are all these qualities that Russians used to have? People have become aggressive and defensive rather than just open their mind and be willing to hear what others can tell, to hear others' experience. For me, it's really painful that the majority of Russians are in a trap that the government has made. I know it's a loud word, but they literally becoming nationalists. Many Russians are talking about themselves like they are the greatest nation in the world, But come on, guys, we are all people, we are all unique, no matter what nationality you are. When I shared with my dad that I got frozen in a hotel in Germany while we were traveling, that the heating system didn't work well, he seemed to be happy about it, and rather mocking me, he said that it will get even worse because without Russian gas, Germany's economy will be destroyed. So he kind of felt happy about it. And it's not just random guy, it's my dad. And it made me think that many Russians now become happier if somewhere else in Europe or in the USA or in others country, if somewhere people feel miserable, unhappy, it makes Russian happy. They don't care about what is going on inside their country, unless if in some other countries people feel poor and miserable. How so? Where is the Russian soul with empathy and generosity? When I shared exciting news with my grandma that we are moving to Germany, her first reaction wasn't a curiosity, wasn't even a questioning why are you moving or something. And she only said, oh, but how so? German there in poverty. And I made a decision to not share any news about our next steps or wherever we are going to move or live or whatever. What's the point to share this news with even your relatives if they do not happy about you? People in Russia, many people in Russia, not everyone, but many of them, they have this term which they use among each other, like decaying Europe. And anytime I have a talk with my relatives, at least once they will pronounce this term. And anytime I go outside and I just compare my life that I used to live back in Russia and the life I live now, I feel so happy that I don't live there. And I do not feel that it's any like decay in Europe or something. It's thriving. What makes me anxious is that all this happened due to years and years of propaganda on Russian official TVs and in news, in schools, and in the universities. And the question is, where can it lead to? What I'm afraid of is that the propaganda works so well, and I assume that in foreseeable future, many Russians can become a deep nationalists, which is not good at all. So guys, I really need to hear your experiences about this topic. Maybe you have Russian friends who either live inside Russia or abroad, or maybe you are Russian yourself and you are also live somewhere abroad. What is your experience around this topic? Have you noticed this huge difference and misunderstanding among Russians? Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like the video, please subscribe, thumbs up, comment, and more importantly, share this video with someone who might be interested in this topic. Be safe and sound, and see ya.